أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، والصلاة والسلام على النبي والمرسلين نبينا محمد عليه أفضل الصلاة والتسليم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. My name is Ammar. I'm here sitting for Sheikh Hussein. He's not here today. And he wanted me to talk about, discussing, he wants to talk about family relationship and how we can make happy family and healthy relationship in family. And that's today's topic. So I would like to start first with a question. When was the Sayyidina Umar better? Was it before Islam or was it after Islam? When was Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab? Was he better before Islam or after Islam? I'm sorry? After. Okay. So what changed for Sayyidina Umar after Islam? What has changed for him? I'm sorry? His knowledge of Islam. Okay, that's very good. So we just need to be mindful of that as we're talking about this, because it's kind of interesting point of reference that we can put that in the back of our mind. The Prophet ﷺ, in a couple of hadiths, he made dua for Allah to strengthen Islam with one of the two Umars. Who are the two Umars? Amr ibn Hisham, which is Abu Jahl, and the other one is Umar ibn Khattab. So these are the two Umars. What's so special about them? What was so special about them that the Prophet asked for them to be guided to Islam? Were they bad people? Were they good people? Did they look good? Did they dress good? Did they smell good? What was so special about them? Yes. They were strong. Very good. Can you tell me more? What do you mean strong? That's a very good answer. In Iman. MashaAllah. Jazakallah khairan. So what's so special about Islam? Islam, did it make him best? They were already the best in the Jahiliyyah, but also they were the best in Islam. So what's this all about? Who can help me with that? I'm sorry? They supported the da'wah of Prophet Muhammad. So what did Islam do to them that gave them that ability? Or did they have that ability from before? Because Sayyidina Umar and Abu Jahl, so Sayyidina Umar before Islam and Abu Jahl, they were the biggest promoters against Islam. They had strong beliefs about worshipping idols as the best. But when they became Muslim, they were the best of promoters of Islam. So the best of qualities that they had, it existed in them before Islam. So what did Islam do to them? Anybody would like to guess? It's okay to give a wrong answer. I mean, we are here to learn, so including me. So
So what do you guys think? What did Islam do to them? Imagine like you have a strong car. Very powerful car. And you have a good driver and a bad driver. What would the driver be influencing on the car? How would the driver influence the strength of the car? I'm sorry? The skill. Very good. And what does the skill do to that engine, to that power in the engine? It would give it direction. It can make it drive good, or he can make it with his skills, or her skills, can make it drive bad. And that's what Islam does to us. Islam gives us direction. It can help in building character, but character is inside us, is within us. We grew up with that character, with that personality. Assalamu alaikum. Alaikum salam. So whether we are strong people or not, have you ever seen a very righteous Muslim but he's a weak personality? Have you seen a person who memorized the whole Quran but he cannot speak in public, for example? Have we seen that? And have we seen a non-Muslim who doesn't know anything about Quran? They're speaking up, they're expressing themselves, very good presence, everybody listening to them. So what's that about? That's what we're here to talk about. Talking about us as human. How is it, how do we impact relationships? How do we impact family, our family? And how does Islam play a role in that? Sounds like a good idea? Yeah? I'm seeing some heads nodding and some heads are like, don't know what you're talking about. Is it a good idea or should we change the topic? Go ahead. Okay. Jazakallah khairan. So, it could be that the strength that we're talking about, either from personality, could be coming from experience. A person who has a good character, good charisma, good energy, good self-presentation, honesty, for example. Could be from self-esteem, could be from willpower, could be from all of the above. So what we like to highlight is that you have a child in your family, or maybe you are the child in the family. How many children do we have today? One child, two, three children. The rest, you're not children. You don't have parents. You don't have any parents. We're all children, right? We're all children. Sometimes we have multiple roles, a child and a parent. But we are all children, right? So, let's go back. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. So your child, many of us, we focus on the child. We don't see what's behind the child. Well, if we look behind the child, it's like, oh, the child needs to memorize Quran. That's how it's going to save him. Memorize Quran, memorize Quran. From the age of 3, he goes to tahfiz, memorize. At the age of 10, he's like, you know what? I'm tired of this. I don't like it. I want to go play. It's like, no, you're not supposed to memorize Quran. But we don't look at the character. We're not building the character with the child. The child at the age of 14, he doesn't know who he is. He doesn't have an identity. Because he missed that development in the early stages of his life. At the age of 20, he goes to university, he doesn't know what he wants to study. Parents tell him what to do, tells him what to study, tells her what to study, who to marry. And at the age of 27, 28, after he has so many children, he doesn't like it anymore. He doesn't like his life anymore. He's like, I don't know who I am. And you think I'm making this up? Think again. I'm bringing you examples from real cases. So I don't want to talk about the case. I want to be working with you proactively on how we can help the children to be successful, what? Muslims? Successful people? Which one? You want your child to be what? Alive? Dunya and akhirah. Successful in this dunya and akhirah. Very good. Very good. And what does that mean, successful in dunya or akhirah? So this is a really long talk we can talk about. But I'll put this aside for now, and then I'll continue, and then we can touch bases on that soon, inshallah. I would like you to meet this family. I call them the Mackenzies. So not to insult any last name from locals or... So Mackenzies, I think there's nobody called Mackenzies. So this name is Arif, because I named him Arif because men in general assume that they know everything, and Arif means I know. And his wife is Sabira, in Arabic, which means patient. She's being patient. And because they wanted their children to be in Jannah and righteous children, they named the girl Firdaus, paradise, and the boy Saleh, righteous. So he's an architect, she's a dentist, Firdaus is 9 years old, and Saleh is 5 years old. So Arif and Arif and Sabira, both come from different background. When they marry, so this is, the dots here represent his personality, the dots here in different color, they represent her personality. Altogether, when they get married, they create a new environment with new genes, new nature, new standards that are different from his family and different from her family. So it's kind of merged family environment. So it's a new characteristic of that family. And therefore, they have the children, Salihah and Firdaus, they are impacted by this. And they don't know what's happening, where did Arif come from, or Arif, and where did this Sabra come from. All they see is that this is the standard of this family. This is the yes and no of the family. And they just go abide by these rules. So, the father has been busy working on a new project, wants to get from a client. The mom has been looking forward to be promoted to take over her boss's job because he left or died on the job, working late nights, leaving his family alone, and he was focusing on his job. And she wants to take his role. So she's been looking forward to be promoted. Firdaus is happy at school with her friends, and Saleh is wonderful with the teachers, are so happy with him, and he wants to make sure that they all are pleased with him. He's 5 years old. Until one day, the father realized or became aware that his client that he's been working on for so long signed up with a competitor, didn't take him. The mom, the company hired a new boss, she didn't get promoted. The daughter, she saw her friends making fun of her behind her back. She thought all along that they are her best friends. And Saleh, the teacher was upset with him because he didn't practice the surah he was supposed to memorize. All that happened in one day. So they all came home. The children in separate school buses, the mom driving home, the dad driving in a different car, they're all coming home. What will happen? I'm sorry? Yeah, absolutely. Emotions are very high. Each one of them coming home with high emotions. And sometimes, some of us, they come from a background that emotions are a weakness. Don't show your emotions. You're a man. You're a big girl. Your boys don't cry. Well, the Prophet cried, I'll tell you that much. The Prophet ﷺ cried. Sayyidina Abu Bakr cried. Sayyidina Umar cried. Sayyidina Umar told him, tell me what you're crying about, I'll cry just like you. Crying is not a point of weakness. Some people see women as a weakness because they're emotional. Actually, I strongly believe emotions are a strength. I mean, some women are, I think that how they handle emotions are much stronger than many men, and vice versa. Some men also handle emotions, but generally speaking. So each one of them coming home with that incident that happened for them that day, they're furious, stress, annoyance, disappointment, fear of the future, what's going to happen. How are they going to manage their emotion when they get home? Firdaus runs to her room and slams the door. Saleh screaming across the house as he's going to his room and never memorize Quran again. Your spouse is blowing steam in the other room and yelling at the kids and throwing things around, slamming things around. And you're thinking, I'm fed up with this. I don't need to deal with this. I'm out of here. I'm going to go get some tariq and cool down a little bit. You just walk out. So how? So how are we going to, how is this family going to function? How is this family going to function? It depends on their personality. It depends on their personality, and the personality comes from the mindset, and the mindset comes from the experience, how we grew up as children. So the parents are really mimicking or opposing what they learned from their parents. So some of the sources in today's challenges, either we did what our parents did to us, and also it depends on how the parenting style, the parents' parenting style impacted us as children, and how are we interpreting that as parents. How many times we come to a realization, Ya Allah, I just sounded like my mom, or Ya Allah, I just acted like my dad. I never thought I would ever do that to my children, and here I am doing the same thing my dad did to me. How many times you've heard someone do that or you felt that? And that happens unconsciously because of our experiences and because of what we come from or where we come from. So does that mean we do not allow parents impact us? Well, sometimes it's part of the inheritance that we inherit. So the parents and the families, they share principles, they share beliefs, values, and traditions. That's part of the family. That's in the inheritance. We inherit that. But when it comes down to, and this is inherited generation after another, whether we like it or not. I mean, it's a fact. I mean, it's a fact to many of us. Some of us are aware of it. Some of us really don't know where it's coming from. So we either mimic or we go against. So if we mimic what our parents do, if our parents harsh, authoritarian, demanding, not expressing, not sharing, not communicating, then we'd be doing the same thing. If our parents were harsh, authoritarian, demanding, and we want to do the opposing, so we end up spoiling our kids. Instead of being harsh and authoritarian, we spoil the kids. So we go opposite of what our parents did. So one way or another, we are impacted. So we are doing exactly the same or exactly the opposite. Again, this is in general, generally speaking. Just wanted to have this as an introduction to our talk today. And instead of suppressing our emotions, we're very sensitive. Instead of not communicating, we're overly communicating about everything. So it's somehow, somewhere, it gets impacted one way or another. And the same thing we are doing to our children. So we are one way or another impacting how the children react. They will either mimic what we do or they will oppose or go against what we do. So for parents, so the example here is that if the child grew up in a family that the parents are workaholics, like that boss who died on the job, working very long hours, and not taking care of his health, they would grow up in that environment, seeing the parents working all the time, long hours, even at home they're working, at dinner they're answering what's up with the team, the group, and all that stuff that is always non-stop work. Then the children would grow up to either be workaholics, and they'll say, no, I'll never do that to my children. And they just focus on the family and the children as opposed to work. So they change jobs, they're not stable jobs, and so forth. So I'm not saying one is better than the other. It's all about balancing between providing for the family and being a parent. Yes, providing is part of being a parent, but it's not all of it. So some people say, I'm being a good dad. I'm giving my children all they want. Whatever they want, I get them for them. And that's why I spend so many hours working. Believe me, I was there. I've been in that position, and I worked a long hours, and I missed out on many opportunities to connect with my children. So I'm sharing this with you from experience. I'm not just telling you theories, but I've learned. It's been a great journey for the last 4 or 5 years. I've learned a lot on how we can help children to become strong, successful Muslims, leaders, Muslim leaders even, inshallah. So they think of parenting as either discipline or demands. You need to meet and fulfill my demands. You do as I say, you do as I do. And they justify that because I'm giving you all you want. You buy all the things you want, and I'm giving you guys a comfortable life. So that's all good. It's just all about balancing it. Sometimes we don't have that balance, and that's what I want to focus on. And by balancing it, we achieve that by focusing on the family as a system, the family as a complete unit, not as a father versus child versus wife versus, just looking at the family as a complete system. So it's good. So in order for us to understand or to work as a system, we need to understand ourselves. So for parents, we need to see how do we behave. So I'm giving this an example as a general example. Please don't, I hope this is not offending anybody. I'm just saying it as an example. This might apply to you, might apply to someone you know, and it might not apply to anyone you know. Okay? So I'm just giving it as an example. So this is based on a study that was done by University of Pennsylvania, UCLA, and USC. They found that that there is a difference in between men and women, and it's in the brain. So they believe in the brain itself is wired in different ways. Wired means that how they think. It's like they found that for men, the connection is along the brain, longitudinal, and for women it's across the brain. The connection is made across. And there are other studies that suggest there are causes because of that and so forth. But again, it doesn't mean that all men are like that, and doesn't mean all women are like that. This is just as an example. So in layman's language, I put this. Again, generally speaking, women or Sabira's brain is influenced a bit more than her husband by emotions, and the husband is influenced more on his cognitive or his intellectual ability, the brain thinking as opposed to feeling. It could also be other way around. Some men are more in touch with their feelings than women, and women are more focused on cognitive and logic, right? So again, I'm just using this as an example. And please keep in mind, emotion is not a weakness. Being emotional and being aware of your emotion is a strength. And I want to promote that, especially with some brothers that I talk to or I hear about or read about. It's quite interesting how they see emotion as a weakness. And we need to start thinking about that a little bit so we can get an understanding really of what emotions are all about. Why do we have emotions? If it's a weakness, then why did Allah give it to us? Why is it that we feel so emotional and passionate when we're in the salah? Are we supposed to suppress that as well? Emotion is a very strong, is a very important strength, I should say, for a human being. So one might argue that men are logical, that's why they remember where they parked, right? And women are emotional because they remember what you did 6 years ago to them. And if we were to look at this scientifically, because emotions, when it's connected to a memory, its heart chord is really strong. So when that emotion comes up, she remembers all the people who made her feel that way, because she stored it in her memory as an emotion with the experience. But for men, generally speaking, we don't connect emotions to memory. We just think, and we always love to find solutions. Just for the record, I lost my car where it parked a couple of times at least here in Malaysia, just for the record. So it's not always true what is here, but again, so yeah, and my wife was like, how could you not remember where you parked? But yeah. So if we were to resemble or to present the brains that we have between men and women as computers running programs, we would look at the Sabira's brain. Let's just pick on Sabira a little bit, right? She's connecting everything to everything. Everything is connected. The money to the children, to the education, to the past, to the future, everything is connected. Everything makes sense to her that way. But for men, they look at one computer at a time. They look at one screen at a time. So think of it as like one computer versus the whatchamacallit, the superhighway corridor, like the internet, as opposed to a man is just like one thing at a time. And I see that also by myself. I mean, sometimes I cannot focus at more than one thing at a time. We just like to do one thing and then we do the other thing and so forth. But for Sabira, just talking about Sabira, she's connecting everything, and everything is connected to her in her mind. And there's one computer that men have that women are not aware of, or Sabira is not aware that Arif has, and that computer is running nothing. There's nothing in that computer, and that's what a lot of men like to spend most of their time looking at. Computer and try to do nothing. They're just pausing and wondering, or mindful, or just not thinking about something. You see this a lot with couples. It's like the wife is asking us, "What are you thinking?" And he says, "Nothing. I'm not thinking about anything." And sometimes the wife or Sabira would say something like, "You cannot be not thinking about anything. You have to be thinking about something." So that concept for many sisters or many women, they don't understand that, but it's really possible. And this, again, this was done in a study in University of Pennsylvania. They found that a man, you can see no activities in their brain and they're still alive. And that is possible for men. So when a man says, I'm not thinking about anything, it's not about they're hiding something from you. It's just that they have that ability. And it doesn't make them more or less than you are. I mean, it's just, that's who we are. And that's what it's all about. I mean, again, you want to look about the system. We want to know about ourselves, about myself as a husband, my wife. How is her traits like? Maybe she has that computer of nothing and I don't, right? I just need to be mindful of that possibility. So, and that's what really makes a system. These two together, the brain, how it's structured, subhanAllah, it's complementary. It is complementary. If you find couples, both of them are emotional, you will find a lot of conflicts in that relationship. If both of them are logical, you find distance, but maybe they're both happy, right? They're happy that way, but you will notice that. And if you are one of them, you would probably notice that. If you're emotional and your spouse is emotional, you're probably going to get into conflicts more than someone who is thinking of things logical. And vice versa, it could be the other way around. So this is just a word of caution in terms of being mindful about the forces that go against marriage. It could be internal or it could be external. Internal can be developmental stage. One of the spouses grow in development. They grow in the terms of their personality or their jobs or their aspiration or drive or goal. They kind of move on and the other person is not. That can increase the gaps. It's just something to be mindful of. Also external, that can be extended families, how they're impacting the relationship, work load and work demands, friends and finances and all that. That also can be a contributor to the relationship between the parents and the rest of the family, the rest of the children. So the system is not only about the brains, it can also include these other things. Okay? Just wanted to highlight that. Just I don't want to say that everything in your relationship is only based on this, but this is just as an example. So if we were to focus, if Sabira and Arif were to focus on this area, if Arif is focusing on the nothing computer and he's running nothing and he's just looking at nothing and he's just focusing on nothing and he just wants to withdraw because he walked out of the family, he walked out of the home and he wants to go and drink some teh tarik. When he's drinking teh tarik, believe it or not, he's not thinking about the family. He's just thinking, it's like, oh, this is beautiful, this is nice. It's just like, oh, I'm just enjoying the time. Because they can shut down things. I mean, some men are able to shut things off. At the same time, you see Sabira, she's thinking about all the things. What is going to happen to marriage? What's going to happen to life? Are we going to still be together? Are we going to divorce? Are we going to die? So she's thinking about all these possibilities. Anxiety is high. She cares a lot about the family, and that's how she is using her strength to think about all these possibilities. And if the men, or if Arif continues to be in this nothing zone, and she continues to be in this overthinking, overanalyzing zone, conflicts will continue to fly across the whole family. You don't have to agree to it, you don't have to relate to it, but does it make sense? Is that a possibility? Anybody says that it's a possibility? Raise your hand if you think it's a possibility. The brothers don't think it's a possibility? It's not a possibility. Only the sisters believe it's a possibility. Or are you in the nothing mood? Are you thinking about the nothing computer? I totally understand. You can stay there if you want. Okay, so why is that important? Because it's really important to be mindful of this state, because it's not about who we are. We know that we care as parents, for example, as a husband. We are in a nothing, but we know we care. We're taking that is not like we are denying the problem, we're not withdrawing from it. We just want that space to think, to reflect. But it's perceived by the spouse, by the wife, as you are careless, you don't care. And that's what it's all important, what it's about, what's important about all of that, is that how the other person is perceiving what we think. And that's what we need to be mindful of. If the wife is overthinking, she's being perceived by her husband that she's overreacting, she needs to have patience, she needs to rely on Allah. She has all that, you know, but she's coming across as such. So that's where the perception gets a mismatch. And that's where conflicts come, because we're focusing on where we are and what I already know and what I am already doing, but we're not realizing what the other person or where the other person is coming from. Make sense? Okay, I'm seeing more nods from the brothers, so they get out of the computer, the nothing computer. That's very good. I'm glad to hear that. They're more engaged now. Okay. So when we have conflicts, we have options. Either we see it as a problem or we see it as an opportunity. Which is better? Opportunity. Great. What's the difference? Well, if we see it as a problem, we're going to very likely to react. And we don't want to react, we want to respond. When we respond, we focus on the opportunity and how we can make the best out of that conflict. We want to get the best result out of that conflict. So how do we respond? Be aware or be mindful of your physical status. How is your heartbeat? Is it beating up? Maybe this is not a good time to talk. Maybe this is not a good time to respond. Because it's going to be a reaction. Because your heartbeat is high, your mind is going everywhere, you're very angry, you're just so emotions of, like, men, generally speaking again, they express emotions with anger, with screaming, and that doesn't jive very well with the rest of the family. And that's where you find children are scared of the parent as opposed to respecting the parent. And that's a big difference. You don't want your child to be afraid of you. You want them to respect you. And that's a very big difference. So how do we respond? You be mindful of your physical status. Your mind is going every direction. You're thinking about all these possibilities. Calm down. Just calm yourself down and start to think logically. If your emotional is so high, lower the emotions and increase the logic. If your logic is so high, lower the logic and increase the emotions, because it's all about balancing. Some people, when something conflict happens, they are talking and their body is shaking. It's like, brother, just take it easy. I mean, you don't have to respond now. Just calm down, take care of yourself, take care of your well-being, and then you can respond. And that's nothing that we can do overnight. We cannot snap our fingers and be able to do this. This is a skill that we can develop. And then speaking of a skill, I will be conducting a workshop here at Al Khadim towards the end of Shawwal about parenting. So it's going to be a workshop. It's not going to be a talk. It's going to be actual, practical solutions. You're going to be using it. So we're still discussing it with the management here, whether we do it over one weekend, 2 days, or over 2 weekends, because we can give you some homework and you can come back and work, give us feedback on how we can make it more practical for you. So we're not here talking like just theory and all that. This is all coming from practical solutions and effective ways of how we can bring happy family relationship really in our lives. So we pause, we breathe. Okay, I'm going to teach you how to breathe. Oh, brother, we know how to breathe. No, you don't know how to breathe. Let me teach you how to breathe. Okay, I want everybody, with no exceptions, even if you're a young man, yeah? I want us to all breathe this way. We inhale, counting to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And pause, counting 1 to 2, as long as it's comfortable. Pause, hold your breath, and release, exhale, count to 6 or 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And when we exhale, I want you to circle your lips as if you are sucking from a straw. So I'm going to demonstrate, and I would like you to follow me with that, okay? Oh, no, wait a minute. That was not a deep breath. That was like a 1. I was already breathing when I started that. Okay. So a total of 10. So from start to end, a total of 10. Our exhale is longer than our inhale. So I would like you to try it, and not to do it fast. It's all about I don't see lips circle. Okay, 1, 3. 1, 2, 3. Go ahead. Did you feel any different? Anybody felt any different? You won't, right? That's okay, because you're not as stressed right now. If you're stressed, if you're angry, if you are not happy, this will make a huge difference. It will reduce your emotions by at least 20%, just by breathing. And we don't breathe. This is going to make you even more anxious and makes you because a lot of oxygen in the brain. Why do we exhale longer? Because we want to release as much as carbon dioxide from our brain as possible. Carbon dioxide, increasing the carbon dioxide in our brain is going to make us angry, it's going to make us unstable, it's going to make us angry, upset, anxious, and all that. Also, too much oxygen in the brain, it'll cause us to be anxious, worried, angry as well. So it'll cause imbalance in our brain. We don't realize that. But breathing and making this as a habit, when you feel stress, when you feel anger, when you feel high emotions, and you can say after that, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Or you say that before it, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. It's very, very effective. I mean, the أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم, maybe will increase it to 30% or 40%. That will remove all that negative emotions that you have. And if one time didn't do it a second again, and do it again. Usually for me, I can tell you, within 3 times I breathe, that's the maximum, and I feel absolutely normal. And I'm able to control my emotions. Again, this is just not my experience. This is based on research. It's based on effective ways on how we can control our emotions in these incidences. And it takes, how long it takes really? 10 seconds? So that's 30 seconds. Less than a minute, you're able to control your emotion. It doesn't mean that you're not upset, but you're able to control that. You're not reacting, right? So that's very important. Making dua, change your posture. Remember the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ? If you're standing up, sit down. If you're sitting down, lie down. And if all of this didn't happen, what do? Make wudu. So you breathe, and you're standing up, then sit down. That will remove the anger. Say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. That will remove the anger. Breathe again. So it's very, very important to think about it. And a lot of people say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Their face is so upset. Try to say it with a smile. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Try to do that. And see the difference on you. It's huge. Just by putting a smile, you're changing your internal, intrinsic part of your body. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, he said, even the smile is a sadaqah. It's all in our Islam. I mean, all this, how do we control ourselves and how do we behave to others, it's all in Islam. Emotional status, are you angry? Are you anxious? Are you scared? Why are you thinking so much? Why are you thinking about all these possibilities? Oh, I'm scared. I really don't know what's going to happen. Calm down. Let's figure it out. Okay? So one exercise that we're going to do, inshallah, in the workshop is to externalize the negative action and the negative emotions. And that's a practice, and we need to, I cannot illustrate it now due to time limitations. And focus on the positive emotions and think optimistic. Is that from Islam? Absolutely. The Prophet ﷺ in many hadiths, the meaning of the hadith is tell us to be optimistic. Think of the positive, right? And think of and focus on the positive emotions. And be mindful of each member of the system. What's their role? They're not having the same role as you are, so you cannot expect the same thing from them. Like I'll give more examples of that. Be mindful of the others' emotions, because you are not alone. It's not all about you. Be mindful of the purpose of the family. What's the purpose of the family? What's the purpose of the family? I'm going to wait here. I need answers. What's the purpose? Why do we get married? Why do we have a family? What's the purpose of the family? So we can go shopping for the children and have a good time, have ice cream, watch movies. What's the purpose? Why do we have a family? I'm sorry? I couldn't hear you. To build the ummah, to establish Islam on earth, to establish, imaratul ard, that's in Arabic. To develop earth. That's why we have a family. And if you have a broken family, what's earth going to look like? If every family is broken, watch the news, you'll know exactly what's happening with the world. And I'm not going to talk about the world. I'm talking about families here. So when we respond to conflict, we start with I. What do we usually do? You did this. That's how we usually do it. Now we want to learn something new. I start with I. I am so happy. I am so sad. I am disappointed. I am angry. We need to verbalize what we feel instead of scream and yell what others are supposed to do and what they should do. Again, this is a practice, this is a skill that can be built. Like if the husband walked in and he saw everybody acting the way I just explained, the daughter slamming the door, the son doesn't want to memorize Quran and all that, he can say, oh guys, I'm so happy that I'm home. But he needs to say that not sarcastically. Oh, I'm so glad to be home. That's difference, you know. It's the difference. It's like when we say, oh, I'm so happy to be home, guys. Let's talk. Come on, let's out. I'm happy to be home. So it takes one person in the family to be congruent. What's congruent? It means balanced. Emotions are balanced. To bring the whole family in congruent state. But if that person is missing, the whole family is going to be incongruent, is going to be conflicting with each other. So that's why if your spouse is not doing it, you need to do it. If your parents are not doing it, you as a child need to do it. You need to be focusing on bringing that stability of emotions. Observe the situation. This person is upset, this person is upset, this person is upset, I'm upset. Oh, it seems like we're having an upset day. So how do we do an upset day? You should open the parenting manual. Upset day, what do you do? SOP, step number 1. There is no such thing. You see, that's the sad, or maybe it's not a sad, but it's a reality that we're in. Nobody taught us how to feel. Nobody taught us how to manage our emotions. You see, I always say in my talks, and maybe I'm saying it here for the first time, if we grew up in a family that doesn't, let me rephrase that. If we grew up in an environment that nobody walks, we would be crawling by now. If the whole environment, if we were like in a jungle, that's why Tarzan doesn't walk. You see him, he's walking like this. Tarzan is walking like a monkey. I don't know if you watched Tarzan when you were a kid, but I did. He was walking like a monkey because he was surrounded with monkeys. But he's a human being. So he only learned how to walk just like how monkeys walked. If he was raised by bears, he'll be walking on 4s. He will not be able to walk on legs. And if our parents crawled, and that's the only interaction to human being, we'd be crawling like our parents. And that's why we're struggling with emotions. Our parents didn't teach us how to deal with and manage emotions. Their parents didn't teach them. It's not their fault. It's just a fact. But we have that ability now that we are adults. We can learn how to manage emotions and how to be congruent and bring the whole family to a congruent state, regardless of how difficult that day is. And sometimes it takes one day, one incident that ruins the whole family forever. Have you ever had people talk or argue about something happened 10 years ago and it's still bothering them now? And maybe they split. A parent splits from the family, or a child walks away from the family because of that incident happened 10 years ago. I've heard of it. I've seen it. So open dialogue, one person at a time. So as a parent, you need to go, or as a member of that system, of that family system, you need to go and talk to each one. Make that connection. Do not ask questions. Why you're upset? Why did you slam the door like that? This is my home. You need to do by my rules. No, we don't want to talk like that, especially when the children at that age and when the children are experiencing a strongly or a high emotional state. At the same time or the same way we are interacting with the spouse. We need not to tell the spouse, why are you throwing things away like that? Can you, it's really annoying when how you do this, blah, 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 blah. Why this, why that? How come you're angry? Why can't you control yourself? Why can't you be strong enough to control your emotions? We get that a lot, right? We hear that a lot. Understanding the state of each one and observe from them their state. In the past talks, I spoke about positive and negative versus disengaged and engaged response and how we build relationship. When it comes down to good news, I mentioned in the talk, it's been recorded, I don't know what number was that. We need to focus on being authentic if it's positive news. But for this example, is it positive news? It's bad news. It's bad news for everybody. So therefore, we need to show empathy. We need to show empathy. If it's this is a typo here. This is not supposed to be there. I think this is copy paste from that one. Yeah, I'll fix that inshallah. So empathy is about validating the other person. The other person needs to be feeling validated instead of attacked. I'll show you an example shortly, inshallah. The other person needs to be felt supported as opposed to denied or rejected. We don't want that. We want to be positive and engaged. Positive and engaged. Positive and engaged. That's what a congruent state gives us. Being positive and engaged. So, going to take that, you withdraw. Yeah, it's positive, you're not causing any conflicts, but you're not engaged. You withdraw. You're showing disappointment, you're showing, telling people what to do, you're blaming them. That's negative and disengaged. Disappointing at yourself, disappointing other people, telling them how they're not supposed to do these things. Yeah, you are engaged with them, you're telling them, but you're telling them what to do, that they did wrong. So they feel disappointed at themselves. So, in the issue, in the conflict that happened in that family with Firdaus, how do we respond to conflict? What did Firdaus do? She walked home, straight to her room, and slammed the door. If you were to tell her, if I ever see you or hear that you ever slammed any door in my house, I'll break your arm. Or if you tell her, or if you tell the spouse, in response to Firdaus's action, she gets all that from you. All your families are a bunch of angry maniacs. And she gets that from your genes, says blaming. He's engaged, but is telling others what is wrong with them. So I don't recommend you do any of that. What I recommend you to do is to talk to Firdaus. Knock on the door. Can I come in? It appears that something upset you at school today. I can imagine being at school can be difficult and confusing sometimes. You're not asking questions, you're validating. It's very important you validate their anger. Then you can talk about the behavior later. I'm not saying accept the fact that she slammed the door. I'm not saying it's a good thing that she slammed the door. Absolutely not. But she doesn't know how to control her emotions because you never taught her. So you work with her to develop that skill to be able to manage her emotions. So validate their emotions. It's natural to feel that way. It can be confusing at school. It can be difficult. We are here to help, and we would like to help. You show that you are here to support her. You're here to work with her if she wants to. You give her that empowerment to come to you. And you just walk out. That's all you need to do. Again, how old is she? 9. And she's acting a lot more reasonable than a lot of people, adults that I know, when they get angry. I'm not saying her behavior is acceptable. I'm not saying accept that. I'm saying look at where she's coming from, not at her behavior, especially at the beginning. Validate where she's coming. Validate these emotions that she's having because they are real from her perspective. To you, so what if your friends made fun of you? My friends always make fun of me and I don't care with that. I don't care about what they think. Well, it's not about you as a parent, right? It's about your child. So therefore, you need to see it from her side. And that's what I said earlier. Being empathetic, showing empathy to your child. Being mindful at the age of 9, what does Firdaus need, especially at that moment, at that age? She needs skills, because she doesn't know how to handle emotions. If she sees you getting upset, she learns, oh, in these situations, I need to be angry, I need to be yelling, I need to be throwing things around. So she's learning how to react when she's emotional. Also, she needs identity. She saw herself as an identity. She identified herself with the friends. And when the friends acted that way, she lost her identity. It's not about the friends. She lost how she sees herself. That's really what's happening in this situation. You don't have to get to that level or to go deep with her, but just at the first thing you just can validate how she feels. Maybe she'll come up and tell you, it's like, they were all of them. They were all I had. These friends are all I had. That's how she saw it. And you're like, all you had, what about your parents? That's when you get defensive as a parent, like, oh, we've been here for you. All you have is your friends? We don't count anymore? But that's you being defensive. You don't think like that. You don't talk about that. Yes, brother?
What is the right time to engage? Because...
Very good question. Yes, continue. Because what?
Because sometimes if we engage in the wrong time,
Okay. The recommendation, what we recommend at IPC is that you engage as fast or as soon as possible. That's why I said knock on the door. She might not let you in as a parent, or maybe as a child you want to knock on your door for your parent to talk to them. They're like, oh, go away. I want to be alone. Say the same words behind the door. It looks like you had it tough. I'm just saying it's normal. You know, it's okay to feel that way. We're here to help if you want us to. Walk away. Because they're going through difficult times, emotions are very high, they're very upset, I mean, they're blaming themselves, they're thinking Shaitan is like their buddy. Shaitan is sitting right next to them, giving them guidance. Oh, you need to call this person this name, and you need to blame yourself, you need to blame your parents, you need to blame everybody around you because you're the best. Shaitan is playing because we are at a weak state, I mean, when we are emotional. So therefore, us as a human being, as a caring parent, a caring member of that system, we need to be engaged as fast, or not as fast, but as soon as we can. And we need to do it not forcefully, right? Knocking on the door that she slammed. If the door is still openable, you can still open the door. Maybe she slammed it and broke it. That's a different story. Maybe you want to fix the door first. So again, that she's upset about that she lost her self-identity because she saw herself with her friends, and that's normal at the age of 9. Because at that age she's building self-confidence, self-esteem, and if you're not there to support her and to give her that skill, she will grow up as an adult with low confidence, with low self-esteem. And that's something to be mindful. I have a talk after this at Al-Furqan. I'll be more expanding on this because I spoke more on this topic there. If you want to continue, you can come and join me at Al-Furqan at 2 o'clock today. I'm expanding more on these kind of notes as well. Responding to Saleh for not wanting to memorize Quran ever again. Telling him something like, only kafirs don't memorize Quran. You have to memorize Quran or else I'm going to show you, I'm going to beat you. I don't recommend you say that. Or blame it to the spouse. Or none of your family memorize Quran. And he's picking up from your brother, picking up from your side. Blah, blah. So these are not good ideas. So the good idea is in how we respond to conflict. We go to Saleh. You say, fine, you don't want to memorize Quran? That's fine. Is he going to go to hell if he didn't memorize Quran? No. He's just saying no to you because you told him to go memorize Quran. And some parents are like, oh, this is who we are as a family. We have to memorize Quran. Well, that day he doesn't want to. Tell him that it's okay. He's only 5 years old. He can start next year. Can we not? Does anybody say that you have to finish it by the age of I don't know what? But sometimes we make a big deal about things and we don't focus on the most important thing, which is the child. At the age of 5, it's a different requirement than his sister. Saleh needs different things than the sister. He needs comfort, he needs trust. He needs to be able to trust the parents that he can come and talk to them. So it's like, it's fine, sweetheart. I don't know, what do parents tell children? Is it same as like sayang, or is it a different thing? Sayang, I know sayang is also for children? Okay. Because I know that married people say sayang to each other, but I didn't know if they say the same thing to the children. Okay, so it's the same word. So you can say, that's fine, sayang, right? You don't need to memorize Quran, that's fine. Why? Just remove the stress, remove that burden on them. Because that's what he thinks, what caused the teacher to think bad of him. Okay? How about you change your clothes because I have some game with you? Age of 5. Sayyidina Umar said you play with your child for the first 7 years. And that's what we use at IPC. We use the 7-7 strategy. 7-7-7 strategy, 777. 7 years you play with your child. 7 years you teach your child. That's why we say to Firdaus to teach her. It's okay, let's talk about it. But we don't do the same thing with Saleh. It's different age group. We play with Saleh. It's okay. You don't want to, that's fine, let's play. It's not a big deal. So with Saleh is a different response. I have a fun idea for you. We can play together. I thought about it. Even if you didn't think about it, go think about it after you tell him that. Because you're a father, you're a mother, you're supposed to come up with cool ideas to your children. We always bring great ideas for work. We're creative when it comes to work, but we tend to copy exactly when it comes to parenting. We copy exactly what was told to us and what was done to us. Again, in general. I'm not saying we all do that, but generally speaking. So at the age of 5, Saleh wants to build trust. He wants to know that he can trust you as a parent. He wants to know that he can come to you and tell you the worst thing you could ever hear. I don't want to memorize Quran. And that is okay with you. He wants to know that he can trust you with that. Because if that is okay with you, he will tell you at a later age, you know what, I was thinking to have a drink of alcohol and change my mind. Some parents will flip that the child just thought of smoking or drinking alcohol, as opposed to encouraging them. I'm really happy that you shared that with me. Let's talk about it. What made you think that way? And you can process it. Because there's a lot of fitna, and fitna here I don't mean like war. Fitna means what? Fitna can mean something that would divert us from the path of Islam. That's also another meaning of the word fitna. So we have a lot of things that can grab children from the path of Islam. We know that, right? We all know that. Alcohol, drugs, smoking, a lot of stuff. And some of it is a click of a button from the computer, right? Without us knowing. So if the child can trust you at the age of 5, 6, or 7, they will be more than willing to share with you anything throughout their lives. But that's your opportunity as a parent to build that bridge of trust. They want to be able to take initiative. Him saying, I don't want to do any more memorization of Quran, that's his initiative. At that age, it's very important for him to feel, I can take initiative about myself. And he wants to build competence, that he can choose to memorize Quran. He can choose to be more effective in memorizing the surah. That comes later, if he wants to build that. So the mission is that he needs to have a purpose. So his purpose was to make teachers be pleased with him. So you adjust that purpose for him as a parent. We don't demand it from them, we adjust it. we build it together and have them build it as part of their autonomy. So is that all? Is that all you need to do? Not exactly. Later in the day, touch base with them again, with Firdaus, with Saleh, and touch base again, see how did it go, about what you spoke to them about. And maybe at that time, maybe they'll even open up voluntarily to tell you what the problem was. Or you can probe, it's like, what's going on? How can I help? Or what happened? Do you feel comfortable sharing with me? A lot of parents feel like, oh, I shouldn't be doing that to my son or my daughter. They have to tell me. Like, are you ready to really to know the truth? Some parents are not ready to know the truth about what the children are doing. And many children, they share it with their friends, and they don't share it with the parents, but that's a different story. And that's when you come up with solutions together. You don't say, oh, you should be doing this. Oh, no, that's not a good idea. Let's not do that. Oh, do this. That's not going to be good. That's not going to be good because, again, they are building skills to develop as children. They're building the muscles of reality, of life. We don't build skills by guessing or by demanding. Maybe that's like, I mean, we're used to, you have to use specific SOPs to use a computer. Well, your children are not computers. Our children are not computers. Our children are not things. They need to develop that. That's part of the intelligence that they need to build. So you build solutions together. And it doesn't have to be the right solution from the first solution you come up with. Let them try it, and then you agree on assessing it again and see how that goes. And you have a follow-up next day, a follow-up next day. There is no push. You know, we live in a generation, this is really interesting, my generation, I've seen the transition of technology where hearing the stories from my parents as opposed to how I grew up. With a push of a button, you can do a lot of things. You push a button, you heat your food. You push a button, you can call someone from the West. Sometimes you don't even need to push a button, you just say the name and it just calls it. Well, parenting doesn't work like that. It's not like a button you push and it's fixed. You need to put efforts as a parent. You need to put commitment. You need to be engaged, and that's very important. Is that all? Also, you can also talk to the wife or the spouse and see how they're feeling and see how, as opposed to telling them what to do, you need to fix your kids, these are your kids, it's a disaster, I just come from work, I really don't need to deal with this. I've had a very difficult day. Well, guess what? I had a more difficult day than you did. They go like in a competition who had a more difficult day, and they end up with another conflict. As opposed to that, so like here's an example. Like Arif says, you need to fix your kids. I had a disaster at work, and I do not need this now. Oh, what happened at work? Did you get hurt? Did the police come again? Did somebody try to bust you? Did somebody die at home, at work? And he's like, nothing happened at work. It's like, what do you mean nothing? You just said there was a disaster at work. And she's like trying to figure it out. Her anxiety is very high. She's trying to make sense out of things. And he's saying nothing, and he's back, he ran away into that nothing computer. It's like, I don't want to deal with this. I want to be nothing. I'm just nothing, and she doesn't like that. And that causes another conflict between the couple. So instead of that, what I would like to invite you to consider is you can say something like, even though you're like, you had a, like if you were the husband, you just missed an opportunity to give you financial stability for the next 3 years, for example. That's the project that you missed. So anxiety is high, fear is high, disappointment is high. But you don't need to deny all that. You can express that to your spouse without the anger, without the screaming. And you can focus on, oh, I miss you today. I wish you were, I wish I I gave you a call earlier today or something. I felt upset and disappointed because blah, 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 blah happened. How do you feel? How often do we ask that to our spouse? Seldomly, right? Or do we ask that very frequently? I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands either way, so it's okay. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, the best of you is the one who gives a good education to his children. He didn't say high school education, he didn't say a degree in engineering or law or science or law or doctorate. He said education. And there is nothing more important of an education than how to help the children to develop their self-esteem, how to manage emotions, and to be able to express themselves calmly and effectively without harming other people around them. So it's not just intellectual education. They're doing okay, and parents, they just focus on, and some parents are really conditional. Either you get an A, or I'm not going to love you the same way. I mean, some parents go that extreme, and that's not healthy. So in addition to schools, parents must take personal interest in the child's studies. If the child is not learning this at school, how to manage emotions, that's when you need to learn and teach your children. Helping them in what they're learning, not by making sure that they're doing their homework, by understanding what's blocking them from doing the homework. Right? That's more important than them doing the homework. So what if your 70-year-old didn't do his homework or her homework? What's important? You force them to do their homework, or teach them to unblock themselves and motivate themselves to teach themselves when they are 18 or 20, when that's the most important years of their lives. Which one is more important? I'll leave that for you to answer. So, yeah, so this is a synopsis of the workshop. It's called Parenting Toolbox. In the first day, I'll be talking about basics. Part one is going to be the traditions and the behaviors, and how do we come with these traditions, and how the family traditions impact us, and how does it impact our behaviors, and how does it impact the behavior of our children. Understanding that is very, very important foundation to build the skills. So we need, like when you go to a mall, and this is the first time you go to a mall, right? And you want to go to a certain shop. You've never been there before. What do you do? Where do you start? You walk across the mall. Let's say it's Mega Mall. It's a huge mall, right? Let's say that this is the first time. I mean, every time I go there, I get lost. But anyway, let's say that you go to Mega Mall for the first time, and you want to go to a specific shop because it's on sale. They have stuff on sale. What would you do to find that shop? You wouldn't do anything? You're trying to find that shop before they close. You're really rushing. You need to go find that shop. What do? You go to the directory. What do you look at? What do you look at the directory? What do you look for in the directory? The shop? Yeah? How do you get there? I'm sorry? Categories. You look at categories and all that. So you find where the shop is. So how do you go to that shop? You need to know where you are first. You need to look at, you are here. And that's what you do in every skill. We need to know where we are. And that's why it's important to start with traditions and behaviors. We need to start with ourselves. Where are we in terms of building this kind of skill? And again, what I mentioned earlier, not in any way I promote the behaviors of the children. That's in the workshop we can address these behaviors. But how do we go about addressing these behaviors is very, very important, because it can leave a mark on the children for the rest of their lives. So in the first part, I'll be discussing what to do with family traditions and how do we manage that, and to understand how the behaviors, where it's coming from itself, from ourselves, and breaking it down to doable steps. Part 2 is managing the consequences. People get into the consequence. Oh, you've done this bad? You've slammed the door? Or you're going to be in timeout? Or you're going to be in curfew for 5 days, you're not going to talk to your friends. And we think quickly about the consequence, but we don't see the opportunity to teach the child. And that's very important. So learning how to parent your child, not to dictate your child in a special way. That may be the most useful and versatile technique in this series, and also as a skill for you to build. The next day, or the day 2 or part 3, we're going to put all these skills together, techniques to consider the outlines to improve and expand this parenting, and how you can customize it to fit in your family. And to make it adaptable to your child as they mature. Because if you have, as I mentioned earlier, if you have a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old, you cannot treat them the same, because their needs are different. If you, well, I'm not going to talk about that. I don't want to offend anybody. Number 4, the last part of this series, of this workshop, is going to talk about the family environment. So we're looking at a whole system, how we can implement these skills from a systemic point of view, and we're keeping consideration of the family environment, the misconceptions, the implementation, and how do we make an effective behavior change within the family as a whole, and we look at the child's school, how you can be more proactive and how you can be engaged. And also, most importantly, a lot of people find very interesting is that the warning signs in the child's behavior that gives you hints that there's something that needs to pay attention to. That's very important. If you don't see that, we might interpret it based on our experience and what our parents interpreted, and that might make us really miss an opportunity that could have saved the life or the future of the child. I'm saying that very, very seriously. It's really important to be able to learn these warning signs. And with that, I finish my talk. If you have any questions or comments, are welcome. Any questions or comments? Anything? Everything is clear? Wait a minute, wasn't that? Yes, please. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
As a parent,
Do we have a microphone, brother? We don't. Okay, never mind.
as a Muslim parent,
Yes.
we always want the best for our child.
We
always want the best for us.
Yes, absolutely.
So, we try to, from young, we try to put values,
Yep.
Muslim values
Yep.
in them. The thing is, just taking your example, a 5-year-old child who is supposed to memorize the Quran.
Yep.
Obviously, as a parent, I would not expect my 5-year-old to memorize the Quran at such an early age. I know there are children who do memorize Quran at that early age, and they memorize the Quran by the time they're 8 years old. Obviously, I would not expect my child to be memorizing the Quran at that age. But what I do expect is when we tell them to teach them how to read the Quran. The benefits of reading the Quran,
Yep.
At an early age, especially at an early age.
Yep.
My question is this. So, when the child reaches the age, he's a teenager, he's 15, 16 years old.
Yep.
So we can't go to book. You've got to read the Quran.
You want to?
You have to read.
You have to read the Quran. Yes.
So we, as parents, if we don't know how to read,
We want that to see it in you. We missed it. We kind of like we want you to have that opportunity, kind of thing.
yeah, one thing is we get the ustads or somebody teach them how to read the Quran. Here's the thing. Then how do you actually make these child interested in doing that? Because it's kind of forcing them to do something which we know they're not really interested in.
Yep.
At that age.
Yep.
So many distractions right now.
Yep.
You know, the internet and all that.
Absolutely.
The games on the computers and that stuff and stuff like that. So how do you actually motivate or how do you make them interested to do those kind of things? To tell them, look, it's important to pray. Because I'm sure there's a lot of teenagers who miss prayers.
Yep.
Especially in the days.
Yep.
Yeah? So how do you motivate your child at that age? I'm talking about the younger age of 5, 6 years old. I'm talking about the age where you are supposed to be doing all these things.
Absolutely.
Yeah? So how do you actually motivate the child
Yep.
to do all these things without actually, I mean, you have to push them, you have to tell them, you have to push them in that direction. But from there on, the child themselves will do it on their own field.
Okay. Very good. Jazakallah khair. Very good question. If I go back to the 777, the saying of Sayyidina Umar radiyallahu anhum, and that's what we practice in IPC. How old is the child? Teenager, right?
Teenager. So around
16, 17, 18.
That's the age where I think it's very, very important to have all these values in them.
Absolutely.
Because after that, I mean, you know.
And here's the question: does it have to be done that age? Can they do it at the age of 30? Would that be just good?
Yeah. I mean,
okay, so we agree on that.
The thing is, it's better earlier than later.
That's always true.
That's my point.
That's very true.
I know a lot of people who, at 70 years old, they're living to read Quran.
Absolutely.
At 70 years old.
Yep.
But the thing is, why can't you have done that, say, when you were...
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Very good point. Very good point. I love that you brought this question. It's a very, very important question, and I love that that's one of the values that you have. That's wonderful, and I would like to affirm you on that, and that's really great. And it's very, very important. I only use that example because it's a beautiful thing that we want for our child. And I'm not saying it's not important. But sometimes children go up and down in that age, at the age of 5. We just need to be acknowledging the states of emotions that they're going through. Now, if we compare that to a child as a 16 years old or 18 or 20, we want them to develop that love to read Quran or that ability to read Quran correctly, and that's a beautiful thing as well. But as you mentioned, there's so many distractions. How do we do that? So if you follow the rule, not a rule, but the guideline of Sayyidina Umar, he said, first 7 you do what? You play. Second 7 you do what? You teach. The third 7, which is from 14 to 21, we befriend. We become their friend. So you want to influence a child at the age of 14 plus, be their friend. Because they see themselves as adults. You cannot teach them. That in their mind, as you develop, that's also again based on facts and based on research that is founded with evidence, that at the age of 14, 15, that's when we believe that we know it all. And that's, as a parent, we stop teaching the child, even though we know that they don't know everything, or it's not maybe true. They don't know as much as we do, but we don't need to invalidate what they know, right? So that's one thing. So at the age of 16, if I haven't taught him that, and then second 7, from the age of 7 to 14, then I missed the boat. So there is a different way in how we can handle that. So we build relationships, and that's what the title of today's family relationship. We focus on the relationship regardless of the outcome. Because him not able to recite Quran is not gonna, it's not a sin. It's ability, it's a capability. Did Sayyidina Umar memorize the Quran? No. Did they learn how to memorize the Quran? Well, they were Arabs, so they had no Quran, so they didn't have to do anything. Yes, it is an admirable skill to have, but it's not the reason why we build that relationship with our children. Meaning that if the child chooses not to do that, it doesn't mean that I need to think of him as a bad person or distance myself or impact that relationship with my child. I need to acknowledge that's what he thinks is right. But me as a parent, I need to change my role. I'm not a teacher to this teenage boy. I am his friend. And what do friends do? What do friends do? They influence each other. The more time you spend with your teenager, he's going to want to be like you. But that's what friends do, right? In Arabic they say as-sahib, sahib. So the first one is sad and the second one is seen. As-sahib, sahib, meaning that the friend pulls, meaning influences. If you have a good friend, he will pull you towards goodness. If you have a bad friend, he will pull you towards bad things. So you as a father, you're still a very influential figure in your child's life. Even whatever they say. Even if they say, oh, I always never liked you, you were really bad dad. I mean, I don't know if a child would do something like that, but even if they were to say that, they are aware. And you need to also be aware that you're still a very powerful influence in their lives. How to act on that is you be their friend. We don't tell them what to do. You don't tell them you should, could, would, should, I mean, must, and all that, you have to. We don't talk like that. How we talk to them is how we talk to friends. I'll give you an example. Imagine that you have a daughter. I don't think this is possible. It's just an imaginary example. You have a daughter, you're walking out the door, and she forgot her scarf. You're sitting as a driver, she sat in the back, and she forgot her scarf. And you're driving in the middle of the way, and you look in the back, in the rear mirror, and you're like, where's your scarf? How come you're not putting your, oh, I forgot my scarf. Oh, how could you forget your scarf? What were you thinking? What were you, la, 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 la. But if your sister forgot her scarf, or your friend forgot her scarf, as a mother I'm saying, then you would remind yourself, oh, don't forget your scarf. You say that very nicely. Oh, you forgot your scarf. Oh, no, just put it on and just walk away. But for some reason, we don't treat children the same way we treat friends. Better yet, we don't treat children as we want to be treated. What did the Prophet ﷺ say? لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحبه لنفسه. None of you will become a true believer or a believer unless they love to their brother what they love to themselves. But somehow the children are not included in that hadith. We don't understand that from a perspective of the children because they're not our brother. Our brother is my friend, my blood brother, my neighbor, but my children, they don't apply to that hadith. Actually, they do. They do, and we need to treat them as we would like us to be treated. So as a teenager, what would I have liked my parent to tell me? I don't want them to tell me what to do. I'm being very honest with you. And I think all of us would have a problem at a teenager level, at a teenage stage in our lives, to accept. Oh, you should be doing that. Oh, that's shameful. Why do you do that? Oh, that's very embarrassing. You embarrassed the family. Oh, you shouldn't be doing this. You should do that. As a teenager, we don't take that lightly. We might comply, but inside us, it's eating our what? Our self-esteem. It's eating our confidence. So at that age, we want to nurture the character of the child because that's more important than teaching him how to read Quran. Why? Because he can still do it. He can still do it. And guess what? if you put that inside him, that what is the the empowerment and that beauty of reading Quran, and you put that inside him, and it just kind of like a small little seed, it will flourish. It'll become a big tree, and it'll have flowers. And just put that seed, and you can put that seed very softly, indirectly, as being a friend. The answer to that effort, the fruits are not going to come next day. He might not do what you tell him to do, but that relationship is strong. He might come to you as like, you know what, I tried and it's difficult. What can I do? It's like, oh, let's figure it out. Let's find out. What do you want? What do you think we should do? Should we get a stats? Do you want me to sit with you? What should? Because my children like for me to sit with them. They don't want to go to a stats. Like, I want you to sit with me. I don't want to. It's like, oh, I'm busy with work. I don't have time. Like, I don't want you to sit with me. So that's what you need to talk to them. What's blocking them? But you don't ask questions. We just open the floor. It's okay. You don't want it, that's fine. I just want to share with you that I've learned this. Beautiful. I feel so much better. I was so stressed one day, and I read a little bit of the Quran. I felt so much better. And that's very true. Actually, Surah Taha, I don't know if you guys know. Surah Taha, if you listen to it, if you know how to read it, read it. But if you listen to it, it removes stress. It removes anxiety. It's just so powerful. So absolutely, reading Quran is a very, very fruitful thing, and it's a great skill to have. But if we didn't establish that at a younger age, we need to address the child at that age and what they need at that age. And we need to treat them from that perspective. Yes, brother. I hope I answered your...
Yes.
Alhamdulillah. Okay. The microphone so everybody can hear, please. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
My question is, what happens after the third son?
Very good question. So what we do in IPC, we add a little after that. So after you befriend them, we encourage or we invite parents to be their coach, the coach of the child. Because coaching is a skill that we can help the child to discover their strengths. And that's what a parent can do to the child. After you develop the character, you need to help the child to be aware of the strengths that they have. So it's part of befriending, but it's a little bit more. You kind of like challenge them on some of the questions, with some of the thoughts that they have. It's like, oh, what do you mean you can't do this? When you were 5, you did that. You did something similar to that. So that you're challenging them surrendering to their inabilities or mind blocks. So you are challenging that. But as a friend, we just influence, we just be there for them, we listen, and sometimes they tell you the weirdest things, and maybe sometimes your brain's like flipping upside down, and it's like, but as a friend, you need to calm down and be there and help them. After the 21 years old, because they're very likely getting ready to be married, you just make it sure. You help them to make sure that this is the wife that they want to marry, that they are ready to be married. And actually, for me, I think marriage age is 18 and above. They don't have to wait until they graduate. We put these blocks in their children's life. And that's a different talk, but just the thought that crossed my mind. So yeah, so the role of a parent to become more of a coach. What does a coach does in a soccer game? Brings the best out of you. Doesn't look at your mistakes. It's like, get over that. Let's focus on what do you want. What do you want out of this game, right? That's what a coach does. Makes the best out of you. It makes you to focus on that strength that you have and that niche that makes who you are as a child. And that's what a parent would do. That bond would be the strongest at 20 plus. I hope that answered your question. Yes, sister. Can somebody pass? Jazakallah khair. Alaikum salam.
I've got 3 questions here. Shall I ask one by one here?
Yes, please.
Is the well-known saying opposites...
I'm sorry, is the what?
Is the well-known saying...
What happened? Sorry, one more time.
But is the well-known saying opposites attract true? Because I've been told that actually it's based on similarities. That's question number one.
Yep. Okay, so the answer to that, it can be very true at some cases. I'll give you an example. Is it my microphone? Is it the other one is giving feedback? Oh, because of that speaker. Okay, because she has two more questions. We need to give her that microphone back. Okay. So the answer to that, yes. I'll give you an example. If one of the members of the family is a bully, an emotional bully, right? Emotionally bully. He's bullying everybody in their family. You would find someone in the family to be the pleaser. So, or they get together like they know each other because of this oppositeness in their personality. One is a very strong, authoritarian, demanding dictatorialship. It's like, yes, black on white and stuff. And the other person will be like, yeah, no problem. No problems. It'll be pleasing and just like making the other person happy. So in that sense, yes. As a matter of fact, you find this with many relationships, whether it's marriage or child-parent relationship. If one of the parents is very aggressive, you find children to be the opposite. If one of the parents is very specific, black and white, and they have to have things orderly, you'll find another member of the family is messy and not caring about order and organization. So it has a lot of evidence to show that this is, if it doesn't start that way, it will influence the other person to be the opposite, for them to continue. And that's one way to think of it, as an unhealthy coping mechanism to continue with the relationship, but it doesn't have to continue that way. There's much better, healthier way to cope with that. Yes?
What will happen if both husband and wife happen to be procrastinators?
They just need to, there are ways to, you need to understand what's causing them to procrastinate, what's happening there. It could be a lack of commitment, it could be a lack of clarity, it could be anxiety that is causing the procrastination, it could be a lot of things. So understanding what's behind that is what's important. So I would like to know more from the parents of what's happening there. It could be that they grew up in an environment that doesn't take initiatives and doesn't take, and they just delay and they say, oh, let's have it, rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we don't have to do anything. And that's, many people misunderstand tawakkul. Tawakkul is not you don't do anything. Tawakkul is you do everything you can, and absolutely everything you can, and then you rely on Allah. But not doing and waiting, coming to the masjid, finding a job, and never applied for a resume, never gotten your resume ready, well, guess what? You're not going to have an interview in the masjid. I've never seen it happen. Unless you're being hired by the masjid management. Unless that's what the job you're looking for. Okay? So yes, we need to rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we need to also do our part. So there's a procrastination, I'm not doing my part. We need to understand what's causing that. So it could be a lot of things, yes. Could be also a confidence issue, they don't have confidence. Maybe they don't see themselves as the right people to take these kind of actions. There's a lot of things that could cause the procrastination. Maybe does it work? Does it get them out of procrastination if they get pushed, or does that frustrate them? For the spouse that is procrastinating, when he or she gets pushed by the spouse, does that help them, or does it cause conflict and aggression? Not aggression, but frustration to the person. it depends, because some people like to be pushed. They got used to be pushed. And that's the only way to get them doing things, because their parents pushed them to do things. And if there's no one to push them, they're like, oh, I don't have to do anything. And as adults, they do exactly what they're told when they were children. And if they're children, they were told what to do, what to dress, what to eat, what to say, they'll just wait for instructions. And that could cause procrastination.
Does grinding one's teeth in sleep mean that the person has not learned to let go of something that has happened in his or her life? Would this mean that there might still be vengeance in the heart?
Not necessarily, no. It could be something else. It could be a sleep issue. It could be subconscious things, but it doesn't necessarily mean negative. It could be current. It could be what's the word I'm thinking about? It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't have to be grudge. It can be something else. Because it's done unconsciously. It could be another emotion. It could be another thing that is causing that person to grind their teeth. Okay. Yeah. Wayakum. Allahu Akbar. Any other questions or in the back? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Previously, we talked a bit about bullying kids.
Yep.
Actually, just want to ask something about that. I have a 5-year-old kid.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes she gets bullied at school
Mhm.
for friends. So, any tips and tricks on how to educate my kids in handling how to handle her friends so that she cannot get bullied, or how she face her friends at school.
Very good. She's 5 years old.
Yes.
Okay. It's very important at that age you build that relationship with her very strongly, that she's able to come and talk to you about it. That's very, very important. That channel of communication needs to be open with you as a mother. I'm assuming you're the mother. I'm just going to use that as an example. If you're the mother, then she needs to have that open communication. The mother needs to be empathetic with the child and validate the feelings that she has. That's very important. So you need to say, yes, that's very not, I can understand what you're feeling, and I would feel the same way, and I actually feel that way. Like, I'm very sad, like you are. Just mirror exactly how she feels. You need to build the trust between you and her. You need to be able to have her, to work together on what you should do. She needs to start taking initiative. You need to support her in taking initiative. She can talk to the teacher. She can talk to the child. She can talk to the child's parents. I mean, she needs to take that initiative. What we usually do, we do it for our children, especially at the age of 5. At the age of 5, they need to develop that. They need to develop that ability. Otherwise, they will always rely on us as parents. So that's the age that you encourage her to come up with solutions, and let her do it. She goes and try it out. Comes back, oh, it didn't change. Okay, let's try something different. What do you think we should do now? We did this and it didn't work out. What else do you think we can do? And maybe she doesn't have the answer. She might say no. Then you suggest, how about we do this? Or how about we ask this person? Or how about we talk to the teacher? How about you talk to the teacher? Would you feel comfortable talking to the teacher? Give her that empowerment to take initiative to defend herself. Okay, so that's one thing. So because during that conversation, you need to always give her the hope that she can do it. She's a good girl. You're 5 years old. You're not 4. 4 years old. I mean, cannot do what you can do. Yeah, you're 5. You can do it. You speak. You can express yourself. Just give her that hope and confidence in herself to take that initiative. And again, she might not be successful the first time. Be there for her and have that relationship very strongly. If she's not able to do it on her own, well, what do you think who do you think you can help? You don't want to wait too long for her to fix it also, because that can be also, she can normalize it as like, okay, that's my fate, I just have to deal with it. No, you need to be engaged in her solution as well. You can go together, but she does the talking, right? You be there next to her. I mean, you can be there and she talks to the teacher, and how the teacher can help also, right? Or talk to the parent, but she does the talking, not you. It's really important to take these kind of steps.
Means that we need to build the confidence of the kids first, right?
Right, absolutely.
How exactly we can help them to build their confidence? Because I think it's quite difficult actually to build their confidence.
Yeah, the thing is about confidence is that it doesn't just, as I mentioned, it's not like a switch you turn on. They need to understand they can try and fail and it's still okay. They can try again. That's a very important concept that they need to understand. Don't give up. You don't deserve to be bullied. And you need to help the other person, because the other person being bullied, they don't know how to manage other children. So we help the other person. So you can put that as a skill for the child to build, to help the other kid, to help herself first as well, and help the other kid. Sometimes bullies, if you stop them and you're assertive with them, they back off. And you need to give her that hope. You just need to take that step forward. And it's very common. It's very common to be bullied in schools, especially at that age, and even younger and older. But it's good to have in mind to build hope for the child, to help them take initiative, and always to build that trust between them and you as a parent, that they can trust to talk to you. Meaning that you don't take that and go and yell and scream at the principal, because they will not trust you again because you embarrassed them. And then many parents can do that, and the children was like, well, you know what, I'm not going to tell my parent anything from now on. They embarrassed me in school, and that's not what I wanted. So they will not talk to you. So you need to build that trust, support, and give them the ability to take initiative. And they don't have to be successful. They don't have to. It's okay. You can help them to learn from that experience by trying something different is an option, right? And that's what the skill that they need to build at that age. You know, they need to like focus on, at that age, they want to have purpose in their lives, and helping them focus on that is very, very important as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sister. Alaykum salam.
So, I would like to know about your opinion about punishment and reward for kids today. So, what's the best cycle if the punishment and reward is necessary for raise the kids? What is the best cycles that the reach age? Is it necessary? We use the reward and punishment like you say that right now my son is around 8.5 years. So is it necessary in my teaching or based on the reward and punishment?
My talk at Al Furqan at 2 o'clock is focusing on that, specifically on that. We don't encourage rewards and punishment. We don't encourage that parenting style at all. We encourage to address their misbehavior as a misbehavior, and you show that with love. It doesn't have to be a punishment, because with punishment, I mean, what's an example? Rewards and punishment is used to really focus on behavior, but it misses out the character of the child. So you have a behaving child, but very low self-esteem. And do you want that for your child? It depends. I mean, you are the parent. If that's what you want for your child, be prepared to pay a lot of money, or the child to pay a lot of money for therapy at an older age. I'm just saying. So focus on the character, not necessarily the behavior. And the character at that age, 8, what did I say about Firdaus? What does she need? What's her need? What was her need? Identity. If you punish, it's like, but that's what I like. I like playing with dirt. I don't want to be, this or that. Like, oh, don't play with dirt, but I love it. I can make sculptures, I can make houses, I find beautiful rocks. So what? That's what he sees himself as. So punishing him for, not washing his hands, for coming to eat after playing with dirt, is like, oh, playing with dirt is that bad? So we're focusing on him washing his hands and we punish him for that. But we forgot that he really enjoyed his time alone playing with dirt. So we just teach him, you call him the names, like, you need to wash your hands. If you forgot to wash your hands, right? It's like, oh, how many times I told you, before you sit on this table, you need to wash your hands. And now even after you play with dirt, you don't wash your hands. I don't know what's wrong with you. I was like, how is the child going to react to that? I was like, oh, I just forgot. Oh, you forgot to clean your hands? And as a parent who sees things like it's so wrong, we're missing the point. We're missing what the positive experience that the child have. And we're focusing on that behavior. So we focus on building the character more than, like I said, how I started this talk as the character of Sayyidina Umar. He had a strong character before he became a Muslim. That helped him and helped Islam to be established because of his character, not because of, the Quran and Islam give him direction to give him the right direction towards, but he was a strong character. So that's why we want to build our children with strong character. And I hope I answered that question. Okay? Jazakumullah khair. Any other questions or comments? All good? Okay, جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله